designs for your Grecian that were like with pleats, right? So pleat your fabric and then drape it. I had a couple people that had this sort of overlapping here. If I were going to do one of the designs, this is how I would start. You always start with a piece larger than what your area is that you want to cover, okay? And use the practice fabric to do the portion. So if you have a long flowing skirt, but there's really no, other than maybe an A shape, there's really, all the design is right here. Just drape 1/2 of this section in the practice fabric. Then you're going to take that off, treat it like your pattern, add your seam allowances and stuff to the practice fabric, then put it onto the real fabric that I give you next week. I'm going to give you anywhere from 3 to 5 yards depending on your garment. And then draw it lightly with chalk or pencil to get those longer lines. So you'll complete your practice fabric, and, you know, make it perfect, back and forth, and then you'll have the whole day to do that. And I'll be here to assist you if you're not sure how to lay it out. Okay. So next week is the midterm. The Grecian dress is the midterm, right? So we're not having any quizzes or anything else going on like that next week. We're going to go straight to, because I've been doing the 5 points every week. Those are your quizzes. And what I've decided to do is make the final exam cumulative from the start from those quizzes. So you all have copies of it. I've given them back to you. Most of you have been getting 5 out of 5, but if you got 3 or 4, find out what you did wrong. And then those questions will be part of your final exam. Okay? So I'm going to demonstrate underneath this. I'm going to drape a bra. You can use your black tape to get your line, or just again for the sake of time, I'm going to depends on, you know, what your design is. Once you get the desired fit of the bra, you cut away the excess. But if you're using like a scarf, a lot of you had just scarves like up here, or like scarves going down the back for, you know, different designs for your Grecian thing. Piece, and then I can go ahead and drape. I pressed this first. I sewed this so that the pleats would stay. And a lot of you had pleats.
Probably because the fabric is really good with pleats.
Yeah, but it's not like my skirt. So if you had a pleated skirt, be prepared to spend about 24 hours on the iron if you want to do this type of skirt lengthwise, because some of you did do that. But you can do pleats. You can, before I do this, you can do pleats from here, you know, and press it from the waist down through the hip area and just let it flow. But it'll be kind of hard to keep and maintain all those, you know, hundreds of pleats like this. If I have a design like this, I can do this piece. If I want, I can drape a bias. Drape a skirt up to that point with a bias, or I can put a midriff section, which would give me more fit. I think a couple of you had like this diamond type shape. I'm just doing no perfection here. But I had a lot of you that did something like this shape, right? Does that look familiar to you guys? To have like a square diamond. This is going to be fun. Too much lunch. wanted this to be on the bias, I could drape it this way. If I wanted it to be on the straight grain for better control, I would do like we did with the pieces here.
What would draping it on the bias do versus draping it?
If I was doing the whole skirt on the bias, I would do it on the bias. And then I would need seams to get clean, like a clean fit. If you're doing it on the straight grain, for the skirt, you're gonna need darts, fisheye darts, or princess lines or something. But if you're doing from here down on bias, and all the way to the hem, you won't need that. I don't know why this doll is so hard. She's accepting everything. Not what I usually use. It's a size 12. Oh, and just a reminder, if anybody wants to do a bigger size, this is a size 12 here. And Angie has volunteered to model, and I think that might work for her. If anyone needs a model.
So you would have to adjust it a little bit, because I'm like,
Well, everybody has to adjust their models to fit real people, but.
that's true. I would really love to, kind of one of the things I've been thinking about.
So midterm, no pattern.
So we're gonna do, you don't have to make the paper pattern for Grecian, but there's not enough time.
Pull it off the mannequin and be able to construct.
Yeah. So, again, I'm not draping, if I only want this diagonal piece, I'm not draping the whole big giant piece of fabric. I'm doing it on the fold, cutting the shapes, and just working with smaller pieces. So if you saw in your notes on your sketches, I've said things like cut a big inch around the area you need, a little bit more than you need so you're not wasting fabric, and then do it on a half pattern unless it's asymmetric. If it's asymmetric, you gotta do both sides.
I'm glad mine was.
I think there were a couple people who had lines like this. Okay, so now there were others that did garments that look like this.
But they like went up like that.
Yeah, they went up into the shoulder. And there was, the reason I'm doing this is there are a lot of similar themes with a lot of moving parts in your designs. So just to give you an idea. Some people had like these pleated arms. Some people had pleated skirts. Some people had pleats from the shoulder. So I'm showing you from the shoulder. And the reason I have the bra underneath is if you're doing this in a sheer fabric, you want to have that like a liner underneath. And then you can cut your armhole into this excess. Pleats on the dress form, then I would cut across here with the same line as the bra line, and it could sew in with that same seam.
Do we sew after everyone? We drape or at the very end?
You sew at the very end. Your pleats, though, if you're going to want to do this, you're going to want to press the pleats to do the drape so that you know what it's going to look like. Otherwise, your fabric's going to be like this, and then you're going to have to drape it in. I mean, you could do it that route. It's just easier to do it this way. So if I push this into this seam, then I can get that look sewn in there, right? So I would stitch across the bottom of the piece and sew it into that seam. So my purpose in doing this is to give you some ways of thinking about how to approach your design, because they're all complex and they're all different, every single one of them. Don't do all of the things in your sketch because we won't finish it on time, right? So keep it, if it's simple enough, then you're good. But like, for example, right here, on Cynthia's drape, she could do that satin drape, add a flowy skirt to the bottom at the waist, and be done. All right? And, or if Eliza decides she wants to keep this simple here this way, she could make this dress go all the way to the floor. Okay? Or if there's not enough fabric on the bias, you could put like a diagonal seam at the bottom and make a flowy skirt there, or an overlay, all right? So, basically today, finish the drape you're working on for the project so that you can make your pattern at home and sew the muslin at home. If you have time today to start on your Grecian, this is the practice fabric. So just come, I'll pair up what you need to get started, and then next week I'll give you each 3 to 5 yards depending on your design. When you're doing your design next week at the midterm, have your sketch on your workspace, because what'll happen is I'll come around, you'll ask me questions, and I need to see the sketch. I need to see what you're doing. So if there's revisions to your sketch, just redo it. It doesn't need to be a piece of art, it needs to be a working sketch that I can understand.